Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Kodeations. In today's video, we're going to be diving back into some Cookie Run Kingdom, and I'm going to be showing you guys some tips and tricks and compositions to hopefully help increase your rank, because if you don't know, we've literally got only 6 days left before the official reset. Without further ado, let's dive right in. Diving right in, ladies and gentlemen, so as I mentioned in the intro to this video, the arena is literally going to be ending in 6 days and 13 hours at the time of recording this video. And if you guys are brand new to the game, or maybe you're just, starting off in Cookie Run Kingdom, based on where your rank or your overall tier is going to be when the season officially ends, as you can see right here, I'm currently in Masters 3. You're going to be getting whatever the amount of crystals and metals are that are going to be next to that tier. Again, in 6 days is when this officially ends, and that's why it's going to be very, very important for you to start grinding it out right now at the very least. And then before officially diving in here, I just want to do a quick shout out to CR Kingdom _tips over on Twitter. We featured some of their documentation before here on the channel, but nevertheless, they do a fantastic job every single season keeping up with whatever currently the meta teams are, or teams that you can inevitably build, judging on whichever cookies you have available. So we're going to be referencing that in today's video, and not only that, I will put the link down below in the description so you guys can reference it at a later time. Already now officially jumping in here, bringing you guys the very first composition that I think is a really good, generic, all-around build when it comes to arena that can absolutely help you grind out some tiers in the remaining 6 days. That's going to bring you guys to my main team. This is my team composition here. We did a video talking about this team in the past, but nevertheless, it's going to be utilizing the brand new Cocoa Cookie. In order for this composition to really work, though, one of the biggest factors that you need when it comes to somebody like this for instance, being Cocoa, that's going to be you have to at least achieve the 22.3% cooldown. That's going to allow Cocoa to go first before the enemy's Sea Fairy in most of the enemy's Sea Fairies as you start to climb to the higher tiers in Arena, as your goal for this video is you're going to start hitting Sea Fairies that are going to pop off in 4 seconds. So this is going to allow Cocoa to go slightly before that 4 seconds, making sure that your team does not get stunned by the enemy. And then diving in here to the next cookies, we've got Holly Berry. As always, we've got Holly Berry running a full solid almond set to just literally take and tank as much damage as she possibly can to just hopefully let everybody else on our team stay alive. We've then got Cotton Cookie in the back here, building as much damage resistance and as much cooldown as possible, utilizing a mixed set, as we already showcased before. And toppings are going to be those 2 Swift Chocolates and those 3 solid almonds to just really hopefully give you those percentages and as much damage resistance and cooldown as you possibly can get. Next up, that's going to be obvious Sea Fairy. Sea Fairy is going to be another one of those cookies like Cocoa for this team comp, where you really are going to need to get off that 4-second cooldown. In order to get that, you're going to need to achieve at least 11.8% CD. For me, that's going to be running 3 Searing Raspberries and 2 Swift Chocolates. It is absolutely possible to do running nothing but Searing Raspberries, but at the end of the day, it's going to be very tough to achieve versus running a mix set, and a mix set does work quite nicely here. Again, any damage resistance that you can get outside of that is only going to aid in overall Sea Fairy survivability. Now, also when it comes to Frost Queen here, it's a little bit different for Frost Queen, a little bit more flexible here. Obviously, I'm going to be running a full Searing Raspberry set to just maximize the amount of attack that we have on her. But not only that, we really need to pay attention to the cooldown for Frost Queen going hand in hand with Sea Fairy. You don't want them crossing over, and you don't want, Sea Fairy's stun to wear off all the way, and then there'd be like hesitation for enemies to get their skills off before Frost Queen then pops off her freeze. So you really just need to make sure you're finessing that, but once you get that down according to whatever your cooldown is on your Sea Fairy, then inevitably it's going to work wonders for you. As far as overall treasures go, I would recommend running the Scroll, recommend running the Jelly Watch for the additional cooldown, and then last but not least, I think most players at the higher top tier is going to be running things like the Revive, because if somebody happens to die for whatever freak accident or something that goes on with whatever comps you're going up against, hopefully they can be revived and continue to hopefully go on and win the battle. Alrighty, and then the second composition I want to talk about that can absolutely increase your overall tier ranking in the arena for this remaining 6 days is going to bring us to what they call the Ginger Scam comp. The Ginger Scam comp is going to be as you see here on screen. We've got Ginger Brave obviously in the front to push back all of the enemies and group them up nicely. We got Kumiho here running, and that's going to be pretty much for that defense break that she's going to be providing and the transformation. Then obviously we've got Almond here to just chain link all of the enemies up together so then they could just share the maximum amount of damage. And then obviously we got there to clean up House, Sea Fairy, and Frost Queen. As far as individual toppings go, we've got a full solid almond set on Almond Cookie just to make sure that he stays alive. We've got another full solid almond set on Ginger Brave to make sure that he stays alive. Kumiho, there's going to be a little bit of variation here. We are running a odd 4 cooldown or 4 swift chocolates and 1 solid almond, but realistically here, you're trying to get 16.9% when it comes to cooldown, and we were able to achieve that with this weird odd mix set. But nevertheless, it's going to work wonders here because all we really need is to make sure that Kumiho goes right off the bat and pops that defense break when we need it before we chain link the enemies and just wipe them out. As far as Sea Fairy here, Sea Fairy actually does get changed up from the first composition. We're then not going to be running the 2 Swift Chocolates anymore, or that mix set. We're going to be running a full Searing Raspberry set because in order for this composition to really shine, you need Sea Fairy and Frost Queen at a 5-second timer on their skill, not a 4-second timer, because you want to make sure that Almond chains the enemies first, and then Sea Fairy and Frost Queen do their damage. And then with that being said, guys, the overall, treasures for this composition is going to be the Old Pilgrim Scroll for the additional attack, the Lollipop here for the additional damage for 2 individual cookies, and then last but not least, the Robe for the additional attack speed, just to literally make sure that your team just runs in there and just pops off and hopefully kills anybody and everybody in the very first rotation. And one important thing to note here, guys, this Ginger Scam is not going to be a good team composition to run up against Strawberry Crepe. Strawberry Crepe providing the individual shields will absolutely just tear down this team apart. And then if you happen to do not get your first rotation off, well, then you can pretty much call it GG, and you're probably going to end up losing the match. Alrighty, and then officially diving in here to the third composition we've got for you guys today, and that's going to bring us to the Holy Grail Summoners composition. Now, there is one thing you got to be looking out for when it comes to the overall arena and enemies and compositions, and that's going to be one-shot comps or cheese comps, almond comps, whatever you want to call them. Basically, you want to steer clear from them if you were running this team composition. However, though, it is very, very good. One thing that's very unique about this composition is that with these cookies that you are playing, your main damage dealer might surprise you, but it is actually going to be Snow Sugar on this composition and not going to be somebody like Frost Queen. Frost Queen's there pretty much just to stun and freeze the enemies and literally to let all of the minions in Snow Sugar just tear them apart. So again, when it comes to running overall toppings for each individual cookie, for somebody like Snow Sugar, I just ran a full Searing Raspberry set because she's going to be doing the most amount of damage. And I say she, but I know she's non-binary, so don't chew me up in the comments, guys. The next one up we've got is going to be Pumpkin Pie. Very simple here. We're running a full solid almond set just to maximize the amount of damage resistance as possible. We want Pon Pon to pretty much tank anything and everything and stay alive and be unkillable. Next up we've got, that's going to be Frost Queen. Frost Queen's toppings do actually change here from the last 2 compositions. They actually change over to a full cooldown build because you want to make sure that Frost Queen is freezing the enemies as much as possible so then you could be doing as much damage to them as possible without taking a lot of damage. Next up we've got, that's going to be Parfait. Parfait here again is running a mixed bag of toppings. We're going to be running cooldown and we're going to be running, solid almonds. Ideally, you want to be focusing in on getting as much damage resistance so, Parfait can stay alive. And then you also want to be getting as much cooldown because you want to make sure that you keep that debuff resistance buff up just to make sure that your cookies are literally not staying stunned for hardly any time at all. And then last but not least, when it comes to overall builds, we've got the one and only Cotton Cookie, which once again, the toppings have not changed from the past 3 compositions that we have utilized Cotton on. Basically, 3 solid almonds, 3 Swift Chocolates, very similar to somebody like Parfait, where you're really literally looking to maximize damage resistance and cooldown so you can utilize Cotton's skill as much as possible for healing, the minions, the stun, everything, and then you really just need that damage resistance so she'll stay alive. And then when it comes to overall treasures for this team composition, we've got the scroll, obviously, for the additional attack. We've got the pin cushion this time because we are going to be running a bunch of those individual summon creatures, and you want to make sure that you are providing a massive amount of buffing to them. And then last but not least, we've got that Jelly Watch there to really make sure that everybody is receiving as much cooldown as they possibly can to utilize their skill. And then with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I want to talk about and go over here in the game before we hop out of today's video is going to be some tips and some tricks. I know there might be some players out there that have been playing for a long time, already know some of this stuff, but nevertheless, I get new players in my Discord and in my comment section every day that are asking me these questions, so I just wanted to give you guys some tips and some tricks that you can hopefully utilize to increase your tier. Alrighty, so for the very first tip that we've got here for you guys, and that's going to be utilizing your free refresh, alright? So I know some of you guys might not own or buy the Kingdom Pass, but if you guys do, there's a massive benefit, and that's going to be instead of waiting 30 minutes for your arena timer to reset, or basically for you to reset this scoreboard or this board as you see here of battles, you actually get a 10-minute timer. Either way you go, though, you actually can take advantage of free refreshes. The very first refresh is going to be as you increase your overall tier, whether that's going to be jumping up to the next tier or maybe decreasing in tiers from losing battles. Either way, your board is going to do a fresh refresh of opponents for you to take on. The second way to get a free refresh as well to beat your timer is going to be able to beat or battle everybody on your board. Whether you win or lose, it does not matter because you can't re-battle the exact same person that's on your board. So just by clearing your entire board of all of your opponents, you can utilize that free refresh to your advantage. It'll basically just refresh your board, refresh your refresh timer. Does that make sense? I know it's a lot of refreshes, but you get the idea. The next thing that I want to talk about, and that's going to be utilizing your defense to your advantage. I know so many players never jump over here to their defense tab and actually revenge some of these teams. Some of these teams, and even some players in the game, will purposely set up a weak defense throughout the entire season to then literally come down to this remaining 6 days, for instance, and then go through their defense and start hitting some of these lower level accounts that just hit their defense to, for their own gain, early on. It's a very easy way to get in here to just grind out some additional trophies without actually having to wait for your refresh timer. And then the next tip that we've got here for you guys when it comes to the overall arena and just basically picking and choosing your opponents, that's going to be do your due diligence and research when it comes to your opponent. Don't just randomly, blindly click on the board here and try to battle somebody, or don't even judge based on just their attack power. Actually click into the overall team composition. Don't click the battle button yet, but click in here and start to analyze some of the stuff. Basically where cookies are placed, on the individual lineup, which cookies they are specifically running, and last but not least, take a look at their overall treasures. The treasures a lot of times will give you guys an idea of what composition that you are currently going up against or what you can expect. And then not only that, guys, don't just judge it by attack power alone. I know a ton of people do that, and then you either are missing out on points or you could even lose because you're misjudging it. At the end of the day, attack power is great, but you got to know something. There's a little secret. The more attack power that a team has, the less damage resistance a team has. So if you happen to see a higher attack power team and you've got a lot of damage resistance stacked on your team, and not only that, your treasures are even looking a little bit better than theirs, the chances are you probably will be able to clap that win even though they have a higher amount of attack power. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude today's video. Like I said, I just wanted to get in here and give you guys some tips and some tricks and hopefully shine some light on some of these compositions that it will absolutely make a game changer for you in grinding out these remaining tiers to hopefully give you guys a megaton of crystals when the season officially resets. As always, guys, don't forget to drop a comment down below, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know exactly when we drop a video, and I will see you guys on the next one.